the whole time they're asking questions about starters, and it just kind of ruins the class. So I
Okay.
recommend the two basic classes if they really want to learn how to make sourdough bread. And then they could take the other ones, later.
Right. So what made you decide to do the two basic? So it's the whole wheat?
Right, the whole wheat loaf or the cinnamon twist. The cinnamon twist is even more basic than the whole wheat loaf. So it's just their choice. And one time this was fun. It was for boys that were cousins, well, from two different families. And they were even visiting here from Texas, but they were in Airbnb
Okay.
and they wanted to take a sourdough class. And it was supposed to be the cinnamon twist class. But I got there and I said, you don't have to put the cinnamon mixture in. You could put cheese, you could put herbs in, you could put Nutella. And right then they said, Mom, get
You
out the
got them.
Nutella. Because you can, with that bread, you could do anything. It's super, super basic.
Gotcha. So you decided those two are the basic. Now with your more advanced, does it start with the basic and then you make other stuff with it, or is it different base?
No, they're different recipes.
Okay.
Totally. They're different. Yeah, they're different recipes. Totally. We don't do anything with start. I mean, of course we use the starter, but I
Right.
don't teach them how to maintain it or anything like that.
Okay, so the basic classes are the basic breads, one a little bit more, not fancy, but you can do more with, like the cinnamon
Right.
twist, you can put other stuff in there. So they don't have to, if they decide to keep going with that particular one, they don't have to have the same thing every time.
Right, exactly. And that's, I mean, once you become more experienced with even the sourdough loaf, you can then add things too, but you really
Right,
have to get good at that first.
right.
And what with the sourdough loaf, what we do is I bring them a loaf of the bread that they can eat, and then I show them how to make that loaf, but they at the same time are making rolls that from the same recipe
Oh,
that
yeah,
they can take home because they've already paid for the class and maybe they don't want to spend another $100, and that's on the low end for a Dutch oven. So
right.
they can make the rolls. Just all you need is a vessel that has lips because you don't want them to flatten out, and
Okay,
they can always make rolls are awesome. My husband and I like the rolls because we freeze them. You
right.
make the same recipe, you freeze them, and then we still go skiing. And if I put my sandwich, I use it to make a sandwich. I can put it on my calf in the pocket, and I've fallen on it. It doesn't squish.
Oh
Where
my goodness. I
where
love
if
it.
you put a sliced piece of bread,
Right,
forget it. Your sandwich would be toast.
right, right. Well, you just taught people how to keep their sandwich warm
Mhm.
and not get put it on your calf when you're skiing, but not with any bread. You got to take Cam's class, make the rolls, and then make your sandwich to go skiing. I think it's
Right.
perfect.
Yeah, and they're just awesome because you just pull them out of the freezer and you defrost them, or they're great to have right away.
Right, right. And that's awesome. And just curious, how do you feed sourdough starter?
With flour and water.
Okay, so you just add that
Yeah,
and
but
that's
there are certain amounts,
right,
that you do it. There are certain times you do it.
right,
That it has to sit outside. I mean outside of the refrigerator.
right.
So there's different ways you do it. It's the process that people are least familiar with, unless they make kombucha or miso or other fermented foods. Usually they grab onto how you do it quicker if they've done that, but not that many people, except for kombucha. I've had a lot of students that make kombucha, but
Okay.
my son does that too. He makes miso. He makes what else does he make? Because whenever I go visit him, I
Oh,
get them.
kimchi and things
Yeah,
like that.
kimchi, all those kind of fermented foods,
Right.
and soy
Uh,
sauce.
right. I wonder if I would have a harder time getting my starter to start because I already told you how cold I keep my house.
No, it's okay because you can either put it when you're, you want it to become active, put it in your microwave or your oven with the light on. You can do
Oh.
that. I don't know. Your house is really cool. I mean, I tell, like in my house, I put it above the refrigerator because at night the heat goes down, and it's hotter. You
Right.
find a hotter place in your house. Now in Colorado too, and when it gets really hot in the summer, I keep it in the basement,
Okay.
because it's cooler down there.
Yeah.
We don't have
Mhm.
air conditioning. It's
Right.
cooler.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
but it's still very, very forgiving. I mean, the
Okay, good.
fact that my house is like 69 in the daytime and it goes down to 60 in the starter still turns out
Right.
it just shows how it's forgiving. But you
Right.
do, and there's other ways. People have used seed warmers for their starter that they put
Okay.
it in that. There's a lot of different ways. You could still do it.
Okay, good. Well, that's good for other people to know too, in general, that you don't have to have a specific warm temperature that, it has to go in, that it makes it work, which kind of takes us to what you and I were talking about before we got on, is perfectionism. And you
Mhm.
have the haphazard baker because now in our lives, you and I decided perfectionism should be in our rear view mirror. As we were growing up, as kids coming up, it was always, we had to be perfect, and we couldn't do anything. We we delayed because it had to be perfect. And we know now in life things aren't perfect. So with your philosophy on the baking and what you see in society, let's talk about perfectionism and your sourdough class and, your thoughts on that.
Well, it that's it kind of breaks my heart because I see a lot of younger people, and at my age, almost everybody is, who just they think everything has to be perfect or they can't even try. And I've had many people in my classes or say, "Oh, I have to do it right. I have to do it right. There's no way I can make a mistake." And so I tell them all the many, many mistakes that I have made, and the bread still turns out. And you don't have to be perfect. I also provide support so they could ask up to 10 questions if afterwards, because I give them a lot of information and
Right.
they could forget things. I really write out the instructions very clearly, but still I want them to be successful bakers. I don't want them for it to be a stressful thing. I want it to be more of a therapy. And so I don't want this to be another one of their things where they have to do it perfectly. I have found that most of the professional sourdough bakers who are famous were geologists, scientists, or tech people. So, which explains a lot because there's so much science involved, but you
Right.
don't have to understand all that science. It's kind of fun, but you don't have to understand it. You can
Right.
make it much more simply than they do it. Because there are a lot of books out there that you could pick up and go, I'm never doing this. This is
Right.
way too complicated. I have to feed this starter twice a day. I don't have time for this. I don't, the temperature has to be right on the dough, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want people to think that they have to do that. I want them to have fun
Right.
and to keep their family healthy. And you will be invited to every party in your town when you start making sourdough bread because they want you to bring the bread.
I love that. So you go to a lot of parties, don't you?
Well, yeah. Sometimes it's a bit overwhelming, but then
Right.
you have to learn to say no.
Right. But as far as the perfectionism in your class, it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun. And as you're doing things and, somebody goes, oops, I'm sure you hear that a lot. Oopsie. And then you come over and you guys make something awesome out of it, right?
Right. You can't even, my recipes are so simple. You can't make really mistakes. I mean, you could with ingredients, but even that's hard to do. One time when I was first starting, I had had eye surgery, and on this card, because I didn't have things memorized yet, there was for one batch and for two batches. And I already had the flour mixed for one batch, and I put the water in for two batches. And
Oh.
instead of just doing the math, I went Lucille Ball. I mean, I went crazy. I started throwing flour in. I mean, not measuring, just throwing, trying to get the tendency I wanted. And then I realized, I told everybody, they were just cracking up. And I told them, I said, this is not the bread you're going to eat anyhow. So let's just stop here. Okay. I just want to show you how to fold it later. Well, I folded it later, took it home because I don't throw anything away, baked the bread, and it was good enough to serve to guests.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
can just picture, you know, you and Ethel in the kitchen and stuff and all this flour going around.
So that you really you can make mistakes, they'll start rolling the dough and I go, you don't have to do it that much, it's okay, just relax, because they think it has to look like the one I did. It
Right.
doesn't have to look the one I did. I also like to use the word artisan a lot
Yes.
because to me the definition is baked goods that aren't perfect,
Right. I
and they
love
don't
that.
have to be perfect. This is your creation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've done things and like a pie and I don't decorate and stuff. I mean, whenever I do anything, it looks like a 6-year-old did it. Not Ollie, not your 6-year-old, because I bet you his is much better than mine. But mine is just like, okay. And it's still good enough. And it's something I created. So, it kind of sounds like you nurture that.
Yes, I really try to like the cinnamon twist, because you do make it into a twist. Say no, it doesn't have to be, this twist doesn't have to be straight. It could be crooked. You could People have even taken it crooked and made it look like a candy cane. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's still going to turn out and it's still going to be good. Just have fun.
Right. Well, great. And then just in general, can you give me a range of how much classes are? Somewhere between here and here.
I would say between 40. Oh gosh, see, I can't remember the most expensive. I think it's 55.
And $1 million.
Yeah. That's for one class. I've had people that have wanted to put two classes together, and then we'd have to discuss that. It'd
Right.
be much longer.
Right.
It's.
Well, great. And what let us know how people can get a hold of you.
Well, just look up, you could Google haphazard sourdough baker. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Um, that my email is Kam Fletcher, Kam Fletcher @gmail.com. Those are probably the best
What's your
way.
website?
My website is haphazardsourdough.com, not baker, haphazardsourdough.com.
Right. Okay. And I have to tell you, Kam, this was really fun and I learned a whole lot. I have an interest in sourdough, so I learned a lot. I can't even imagine what a class would be like with you when we had so much fun just here on our interview.
Well, thank you. This has been a really fun interview too. You make
Yeah.
me feel very comfortable.
Oh, I'm glad. If we were together, I'd be giving you a big hug right now. So thank you for coming on and for this interview. And I can't wait to get this out to my subscribers and more people know about you and get a hold of you. If you are thinking of a sourdough, you have to call Kam, get her in your house, go to her house. Where is your house, by the way?
It's in the Briargate area.
The bar. Okay. Go to her house, have some fun. A reunion sounds amazing. If you get all your family together, go ahead and bake. If you're in a corporate setting and they're open to team building, give her a call. This is really fun. So, something to explore.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy. I've really enjoyed